who's speaking right now again to the nation. Let's listen in.
שלנו נגד נגיף הקורונה. אני מבקש לדווח לכם על 3 פעולות נוספות שאנחנו נוקטים.
3 additional policies that we are taking, and one fundamental thing that I'm asking you, citizens of Israel, to do, without which none of our efforts will bear fruit. We're seeing what is happening in other countries that have not taken these steps. Thousands of people around the world have already died. As Prime Minister, I must tell you the truth. Happily, we have not yet lost anybody. But this will not go on. You will soon hear assessments from the Health Ministry about how many victims we can absorb if we do not change our routines. This truly is a difficult plague. This isn't child's play. This isn't a big vacation. This is a matter of life and death. In order to minimize the number of deaths in this pandemic, I report another 3 steps that we're taking to you. First, we shall dramatically increase our ability to locate and isolate infected persons. Today we began to implement our digital technologies which locate people who came into contact with corona patients. We shall inform these people that they must go into quarantine for 14 days. We're expecting large numbers of people, in very large numbers of people, and we shall announce these in the coming days. Entry into quarantine will not be a recommendation. It is an obligation, and we shall enforce it uncompromisingly. This is a critical move to slow down the spread of the pandemic. The second thing, we are dramatically increasing the number of tests. I have instructed the Health Ministry to dramatically increase the scope of testing to 3,000 tests a day at least. We may well reach more, perhaps 5,000. To the best of my knowledge, relative to the population, this is the largest number of tests in the world, more even than South Korea. In South Korea, there are about 15,000 tests a day to a population that is 5-6 times ours. We are importing the testing methods, including through personal ties that I have with leaders around the world, and also through production here at home. At the same time, Magen David Adom will begin drive-in corona tests, and there will be an orderly message that will go out on the MADA website. 3, we are increasing the preparedness of hospitals for serious cases. Hospitals are getting ready to take in such cases, including protecting the medical teams and buying another 1,000 respirators. I would like to salute the medical teams again who are doing God's work in saving lives. Now I'd like to speak to you about the 4th thing, the thing that I'd like from you. I would like you to exercise discipline and responsibility. Everything I've described, all the other steps that you can see that we're taking in the last few days and the last few weeks, which place Israel at the forefront of nations around the world, and we are there at the forefront. All these steps, none of these steps will help at all if there is no discipline and responsibility on your part. I say so this evening with sadness. There are many among you who still do not understand the extent of the danger. I see people gathering on the beaches. People are frolicking around. They think it's holiday. They're playing around, passing one another, touching one another. I see queues, people not looking after the rule of 2 meters. I see families gathering together. I watch TV and I can't believe what I'm seeing. I just see families sitting on the same couch, almost one on top of the other. It's obvious to me there's a problem of internalization. This isn't a kid's game. This isn't a child's game. It's a matter of life and death. I'm asking you to wake up, keep a distance, a 2-meter distance. Today, I can tell you that love is distance. Love is distance. If you love your dear ones, keep a distance from them. Keep a distance from family members as best as you can. Now, as part of this discipline effort, I'd like another thing from you. Yesterday, we defined who needs to go to work and who does not. Anyone who does not need to go to work, according to the instructions we gave yesterday, I'd like you not to leave the house and to stay at home as much as you can. At the moment, I say so as a recommendation, as a request, not yet as an instruction, and that may change soon. What I'm asking from you today is to minimize your leaving the house just to essential exits. I'm sure you're aware of the English saying, an Englishman's home is his castle. I'd like you to adopt that. Your home is your castle. To protect you from the pandemic of coronavirus, as long as you exercise responsibility within your home. So stay at home, speak to each other by phone, Skype, keep a distance. Citizens of Israel, together with my colleagues in the government, with medical teams, we are doing everything in Israel to make sure that we overcome this global crisis. This is a huge crisis. I'd like you too, citizens of Israel, to do everything so that we can successfully meet the challenge of coronavirus. We're right at the beginning. The peak is yet ahead of us. We have no intention to surrender. We have no intention to give up. We will continue fighting the pandemic through all means until we win. Thank you.
Shalom לכולם.
Hello, everyone. We today gave instructions, new recommendations to the public about how we expect you to behave. These instructions are extremely difficult to implement. We know that. And we feel that there is not yet enough internalization in the public about the need to follow these guidelines. I'd like to tell you why we're asking you to follow these guidelines. We are used to thinking that things won't happen to us. We're used to thinking that it will happen in other countries, that it will happen to other people, that it will be a small event that will pass perhaps by the spring, perhaps by the summer. But that is just not the reality that we are preparing for. We hope that reality will be optimistic and good, but we also understand that we must prepare for other scenarios. We understand that the scenarios that are happening in Italy and Spain and other countries can happen here. And our possibility of preventing such extreme scenarios as happening in the other countries depends on your behavior. We also know that whatever we don't do, we'll see in the coming days a rise in the number of patients. We will see a rise in the rate of infections. In the next few days, we will probably also see, maybe tomorrow, another 100 new patients a day, and those numbers will only continue to rise in the coming days. We may also reach hundreds of new patients a day, and we know that at the end, some people may also die. Some people will die from the disease. This may happen in the next few days. Unfortunately, in these scenarios, there may be many thousands of citizens of Israel who will die from this disease. We want to bring the number both of sick people and people who end up dying as low as possible. If we follow the steps we're taking now, we will be able to spread out the sick people, to flatten the curve as much as possible so that we will be able to reach each and every one of them. Even the best scenarios that we have in mind, there will be no few people who will die. There will be many, even more people who will be sick. But we know that as a society, we will be able to reach everyone. And therefore, we really are giving you these new guidelines. It's important to say this is not a game. We haven't made sure that you have a corona-induced holiday. We want you to stay at home and to minimize as much as possible your contact with other people. Our ability to reduce the chilling forecasts to ones that we are able to at least deal with all the patients depends on your behavior. The more we minimize our contact with other people, the more we will infect less and be infected less. Many of the people you cross may be sick. They don't know it. You certainly don't know it. Perhaps you're sick and you don't know it, and you might be infecting other people. And therefore, we tell you, stay at home. This is not a time to go to the park. This is not a time to go to the beach. It is unfortunately not even the time to go and visit grandma and grandpa. I say so with huge pain. We all have our own parents. We have grandma, grandpa, and we find it very difficult with this step that we're telling ourselves and around us. But at this time, the best way that we can look after grandma and grandpa and mum and dad is not to visit them, because we may be sick and not know it, and if we go, we could infect them too and put their lives in danger. Mostly today we have other means to protect, to keep in contact. We have phones, we have video conferencing and chats and other means by which we can stay in touch. We also tell you, if you feel unwell, you must stay at home. If you belong to if you are elderly or have pre-existing conditions, look after yourselves even more. Minimize even more your exit from home. Now, people are asking us whether these are instructions or recommendations. You heard the Prime Minister. We prefer for you to follow these recommendations and see them as binding instructions, not because we're going to send wardens. We want you to understand that this is our way to guarantee your health, your parents' health, your grandma, grandpa's health, and also of our children. We want to be certain that we'll reach each and every sick person and give them the excellent treatment that our system knows how to give. If needed, we'll also find ways to enforce it, but we don't want to go there. I want to say something else, because I've heard that there are disagreements between the finance ministry and us. Indeed, sometimes we're not on the same page, we don't always agree, but we all equally see the importance that the state of Israel overcomes this crisis peacefully. I am in daily contact with Shai Babad, the Director General of the Finance Ministry, and also with the head of the Budget Department, Shalom Meridor, and everyone is absolutely committed to our decision to make sure that Israel overcomes this crisis peacefully. Ron Chizkiyahu is doing everything he can. The Finance Minister, Moshe Kachlon, is also fully on board, and I want to say thank you as well to Meir Ben Shabbat, the head of the National Security Council, who with his professionalism and quiet has been integrating one of the more complicated missions that the State of Israel has ever coped with. This integration of various government ministries is a very complicated task, and the whole government is geared towards dealing with it. I know that this task will take time. These are not short episodes. Maybe we'll be surprised and they do end up being short, but we're prepared for them not to be short. But we shall adapt our lives. We will change our lifestyles in order to preserve as much as possible. Our children are our hope. I see children, how they are changing their routines, how they're changing us as adults, how they make sure that we use personal hygiene and keep social distancing. You children will help us really change our behaviors to overcome this crisis successfully. I want once again to say thank you. Must always say thank you to the medical teams, both in the labs, our central lab, and also in the teams spread across the country who are doing what they know to do best with great devotion, often even putting themselves at risk. We are, of course, committed to the teams being protected. We'll do everything to make sure they have the necessary equipment. To date, we don't know of anyone having been infected as a result of their work, but it's certainly a risk that they're taking, and we'll make sure that they will do the maximum for them. This crisis also embodies our resilience as a country and our strength as a healthcare system. But once again, I want to repeat something we say all the time. In order to succeed, we need you to cooperate with us, to understand that this event is a serious event, and we are able to get past it peacefully if you cooperate with us. Thank you very much.
I've been listening to